Okay, you can see I'm over on the block here, and I've just got a liner sitting in place there with no shims under it at all. It's just a bare liner. Now, what you probably need to do is go over to the back of your tractor there and take a couple of bolts out of the side covers, and on the right hand side of your transmission housing, the round plate that holds your dipstick, they've got a couple of nice little screws in there that we need. And also on the other side, on the PTO side, there's also a round plate there. Take a few bolts out of that as well. Leave the bottom bolts in, the bottom couple, the very bottom hole in that side cover. If you still have oil in the back end of your tractor, it'll leak all over the floor, and you don't want that. So what we're looking at doing here is using these bolts and a couple of washers, and the idea is to bring them down and clamp the liner in place once we have the liner height set. So at the moment we'll pull that out. Now make sure inside here is really, really clean, and then I've got one liner sitting in already, so drop a bit of oil on the liner, and you probably don't need to do this. I'm just doing this to show you things and show you how it all works. So we'll bring that liner down in, and if you've cleaned the bottom properly, you will be able to slide the liner in like that. And then we'll give it a bit of a make sure that's in place. We'll have to clean all that oil out later before we seal it up for good, but we're just going to go through checking the liner height. I like to keep this little gap through the liners there. I like to keep that nice and even if I can. I don't know if it's important or not, it's just what I choose to do. So we'll give that a bit of a tidy up there. Now, you'll notice I have a bolt in here. Now if I lift the camera up just slightly, you'll see that was a bolt I couldn't get out, so I've got a diesel gudgeon pin there holding that in. So what we're looking at doing is, once the liners are above the deck here and we need to hold them in place, we need to pop a washer there, and that washer is something that's going to hold the liner in place. Now I'll just turn this washer over, because there's a sharp edge on the washer and a round edge, so we want the round edge towards the liner so we don't put any unnecessary marks on anything. So we'll pop this bolt down, but no need to clamp things in place just yet. So with our little gauge here that we spoke about, the idea of this little gauge now is to, can you see that? Perhaps over here. Okay, I'll zero that. I'm trying to look backwards at this in the monitor of the camera. That's a bit of a doozy job. You flick the monitor up and it goes upside down. So okay, look, we're zeroing that. And just out of interest, we swing that across to the liner there, and what do we have there? .12. That's in millimetres. .12, and we do that in 4 places on the liner, and then you add them up, and then you work out the average of those. So you add them up, so at the moment it looks like we got .12, so it's 12, so 4 12's 48 divided by 4, so it's 12 average. So in thousandths of an inch, now I think this will take us, okay, that's thousandths. I don't think that is, Lance. There we go, now we're on to thousandths. And I've gone to thousandths because the book talks in thousandths. So we swing across there. We've got two below. If I'm saying these numbers wrong, it's just because I'm trying to read it back to front in the monitor. 2 there. I think that's the same, but the idea is to do the 4 places and take the average. Now, you're looking to have them even if you can, then you know your line is sitting nice and true down the bottom. So, at the moment, that's below this top surface. And I've just put that in just as an example, really, to show you. Now, I've got my old book out here, so and just so I'm telling you the truth, where are we here? So, the cylinder block, top face to the seating face, stand out of sleeve above the cylinder block 2 to 8 thousandths of an inch. So this here, that's our aluminium liner seals. Now we're about 2 thou below at the moment, so I'll just get my verniers and do a quick check on this. And that's 5 thou, 5.5 thou, or 0.14 of a millimetre. So before we had 0.12 of a millimetre, so this one shim would bring us up just above the surface, which is what we're looking to do. So let's slide these liners out, and we're just going to do a dummy run, just to check how everything's going. So we'll take him out and put him over here. We'll take him out and actually I'll put him over here too, it's a lot safer. Now we have this liner gasket. Now the liner gasket has to sit down, and we have to be able to feed our liner in, so we have to make sure that sits right down in the groove properly, and that feels like it is. Now these liners are going to be a little harder to put in now, so I'll just, in the background there you can see I'm just wiping this up again. They have a slight lead-in edge there, you can see that little ring, so we'll oil them all up again. And we'll see if we can slide this liner down through there without damaging anything. And see, that's a little bit firm. And we'll do the same with this other one. Now I'm just doing them in pairs because the liner O-rings are in pairs. The liner seals are in pairs. So they're really a little tight for me. I wouldn't mind seeing those liner O-rings a little looser. See, we know the liner goes in nice and easy, but that extra drag there, that's just the O-ring, or the liner seal, and it's a little bit snug. So we'll and we're pulling ours out again anyway, but it's just running through the exercise of checking the liner heights and seeing. I use Loctite 515, so the final time I put these in, it's going to have a heap of Loctite 515 around the bottom. When we press them in, we'll clamp them down and we'll hold them in place. Okay, so the liners are in. Let's hold them down. That is just a bit too small. Okay, we have a washer now. Use the round side of the washer towards your liner. And we can bring this one over across and tighten him down. And then this one over here. Where did I put that other bolt, Lance? Here we go. So I've got a spare set of liner O-rings, so if I'm buggering around with some, it doesn't matter. Right, now, we'll tighten it all down. That looks like it's not fitting on that spanner the best. Must have a bit of a burr on it. Yeah, it looks a beat up looking old nut. We might find some new nuts when we go and put that back on the cylinder head. So I had to pick a dodgy one. So I'm just tightening this liner down here. So I'm putting a fair bit of tension on that now. And we'll put a fair bit of tension there and a fair bit of tension there. And what we're hoping to do is get the liner seals and compress them down as if the cylinder head was on, and just check that they're still above the deck. Now, the reason they might be way above the deck is if you've had to have your block machined, and if you do, and it gets too out of whack, you may have to machine the top of your liners, which is no problem. But then you would also have to check your piston height. So right, we've popped a couple of liners in with our new seals. We'll try and make sure this is nice and clean. Now turn old Gertie here on again. What have we got there? Okay, we'll try and, that looks like it'll be 0. And what we have to look for is make sure that this corner here isn't sitting up on the liner. We have to make sure the whole thing is out of whack. So we have 0 there. We slide that across to the liner. What's that say? 2. So that's 2/1000ths of an inch. I'll come in from the back here. You probably won't see this. You have to take my word for it. I could just tell you anything. That's on 0. That says 10th there. And it's hard to actually get a, that's 4. All right, I might put a little bolt in the corner here if I have a spare one. Here we go. I thought I had another one there. Just to make sure it's all held down evenly. It feels like it's it does feel higher in that corner for sure. Now the original gasket, uncompressed, which was a paper gasket, was 19th thou. Now the Sparex aluminium gasket we have here. Now that's part number 42488. So let's just have a quick measure of that. We'll zero this out. That's 5 thou, or in kilometres an hour, it's 0.15. But we'll stay in thousandths of an inch because the manual's in thousandths of an inch. So we'll just check it through the centre here again, make sure we're on 0. Get in there. That's 8 thou there. Oh yeah, it's 8.5 there. So, with our 2 thou below before, and 8 thou, we should be around 6 thou average. So, let's see if we can get that average worked out. Now with that liner bolted down, we have 8. What do we have there? 6. Now trying to get through here, it's a bit dodgy really, but anyway, we'll... 4. We got Kelly dog bark and there's someone coming up the driveway next door. She thinks she owns that one too. And that's 4. So what we do now, we take our average of our 8 and our 4 and we average it all out, because once we put the cylinder head on and the cylinder head bolts down, this will bolt down absolutely true. But I'm having a little bit of trouble giving you a good display of the liner height. So this one here is 5. Three and a half. 6.5. So I haven't got them sitting in real true. So you get the idea of that anyway. So so in our case here, the one aluminium shim from Sparex in the Sparex kit will get us up within our 2 to 8 thousandths of an inch. And look, you can just feel it's there. This one, it's cocked sideways a little bit. I can feel this is a bit lower than that there. But perhaps we need to bring that washer out a little bit further just to pull it down. So because we've compressed this seal already, this aluminium one, I won't use that in the engine. I'll make sure I put a whole new set in. But the main thing is just to show you how to do it, what to look for. Trying to get a good display for the camera and actually see what I'm talking about is a bit hard with this tool. I can read it okay. You know, when the camera's not there, I can walk around and have a read and there's no trouble at all. Yeah, 6.5. 5.5. About 3. That's about 2. So we need to run through, and maybe I need to put a bolt here too. And we're looking to clamp them, to get a good measurement of how that is, of the height. You can feel that's above, no worries at all, like just with your finger. But trying to get you a good display for the camera is just proven to be a bit of a hassle. So if we run at 0 there, is that 0? Yep, looks to be. And we pop up onto the follow there, and we got 2 there on this side, I think. I'll have to get my head over the top and have a look. Oh, that's 4. I'm getting blind, old fart. So that's the idea of it all anyway. There's that washer that dropped down before that I couldn't see. So you get the idea anyway of how to do that. Now, when we, now I'm happy that these just one shim will get us at the correct liner height. Well, we can now seal the bottom up, use our Loctite 515, and we can clamp all the liners in place, and then we can go forward and yeah, and start assembling pistons and things.